Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is the Cinemile. It's the podcast where we walk home from the movies. Today we're going to see an Irish movie. It's called Kneecap. It's getting a great bit of buzz. It's a sort of a... What is it? How would you describe this?
It's Ireland's entry to the Oscars.
Yes.
So that's cool. It's been getting a ton of buzz. It's largely in Irish language, which is amazing.
It's about the Irish language hip-hop band Kneecap.
Yeah.
And they play themselves.
And yeah, so it was kind of autobiographical, semi-autobiographical. I've actually tried to avoid reading anything about it because I've been so excited to see it. I went to an all-Irish school and used to fluently speak Irish. I can still fluently understand Irish, but I struggle to kind of remember it a bit. Love watching stuff off Scoilga. Dave doesn't really speak much Irish, but it's going to be subtitled.
No, I grew up in the UK. My parents, both Irish, and moved us back home when I was age 9. But I felt like I don't know. I always felt I was at a disadvantage because I tried to learn Irish then in school, and I was a few years behind. And also, I don't have an affinity for languages, so I just don't have it. Yeah, and it makes me a bit sad because it is. It's a beautiful language.
It's so cool.
It's our country's language.
They're popularising Irish. They just played Electric Picnic, which is the biggest festival in Ireland, to a huge crowd, rapping in Irish, and their stuff's really catchy.
Have you listened to? I don't know. I don't follow music. No, that's not right. I'm not into hip hop, and I'm not cool or young.
Well,
these people Kneecap make me feel old.
We're a bit old for it, but as in we're a bit old to go to EP and listen to them. But I have heard them. I think they're class. I've heard them on the radio. I do love hip hop, and when I was a teenager I was obsessed with it, so I'm really excited to watch them. And we really admired them. They took a huge stance, I think it was earlier this year,
South by Southwest,
yeah, which is a huge music festival in the States. They were due to play there, which is a huge gig for three lads from Ireland, and they pulled out because the American military sponsored the event, and with the ongoing war in Gaza, they were we're not supporting it. They and a ton of other artists pulled out. They really publicly pulled out. They made a really big deal about it, and it would have come at a kind of huge cost to them professionally, I think. So really admire them. Put their money where their mouth is.
I admire that too, and
yeah.
I also don't know their music, but I admire their principles.
Yeah, really
and
huge admiration.
taking a stand.
I just thought no artist had any business being there, to be honest, given the circumstances, and I think they were dead right.
Yeah.
To be as vocal as they were, and they did the right thing. And they went on the Late Late Show, which is the Irish talk show, and they were told not to wear any kind of Palestinian iconography or whatever, and then they just did it anyway on live TV. They're cool, right? They're really cool.
Yeah, so they seem like an incredible sort of anti-authoritarian, anti-establishment sort of music group, which I think is largely in line with the spirit of hip-hop itself. So, and
I'd say probably anti-colonialism, right?
Sure.
It's all very cool. So yeah, I'm excited to see them.
Are they there's a sort of a Republican nationalist bent to the whole thing, I believe.
I presume so.
Judging by the fact that one of them seems to wear a tricolour balaclava. And they're from Belfast, right?
I can't wait to hear what our non-Irish listeners make of it. Can't wait to go and see it now. We are about to go in, so we will come out when we're finished.
And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Tell me something about you. Something you've never told anyone else.
I'm a rapper. There are 80,000 native Irish speakers in Ireland.
Ní fac, I chéad gan teanga ach lá náisiúm.
3 of us have become rappers.
You might know the words, but you don't understand the language.
There's one you for horse from Kyo.
George go studio again.
What?
Because rent beats.
Can you Well, you hear Abbey Roadie? Abbey what? Argus Shaw boys and Roland 808. You honestly are gonna be as real for Kyoto if we like grammar. When she's blast us, been the diary see on hip hop. Good on your. Do I look like I want to read subtitles? Here, dog, tree.
Consider this here's the knock at the door before the knock at the door. Him and his wee pal's music. It's drawn attention from all the wrong places.
Nothing but a H-double-O-D, low-life scum.
We'll end up face down in an alley.
Okay, hi, welcome back. We have just seen Kneecap. If it's your first time at the Cinemile, well, we won't spoil the movie until we get to Spoiler Street, so you're just going to hear our general thoughts on the movie. So, Kathy, What did you think of Kneecap?
Eartr. It's cumulum sa fuck fui in Garda.
Oh my god, absolute bangers.
Oh my god, that was so good. I am blown away by that film.
Double OD.
Full of energy coming out of it.
Energy is how I feel.
I
as
knew
well.
that. I was thinking, like, we're a bit old and, like, I never want to go to something like Electric Picnic or whatever. Like, I'm never interested. But I was watching this and I was like, God, I'd love to see them live.
We should explain that Electric Picnic is a big music festival in
music
Ireland
festival
for
in Ireland,
people.
I
Most
was
of our
just-
listeners are not Irish.
I was like, God, I'd love to see them live, firstly. I'm completely blown. It's actually hard to... you can't categorise the film. I'd say it's incredibly unique. Really unique. If you haven't seen it, I hugely recommend you find it. It's on a wide enough distribution for an independent film, but it is an independent film, so you have to seek it out. It's kind of got an underdog story of like musicians trying to form a band, which is always really fun. It's obviously set against the backdrop of the north of Ireland, as they say, and not Northern Ireland. It's like a love letter to the Irish language. And it's got so much energy. I kind of feel like I wouldn't compare the films like in terms of how they're presented or anything, but it has like the energy of a Train Spotting. Like I feel like I've come out of it just buzzing.
It's so funny you say that. There were one or two scenes where I was just like, I felt like Born Slippy was playing.
Yeah, the music was so good.
Yeah, it was Train Spotting is a similar vibe.
Like the rap music they're singing is so good, but like the score was amazing as well and really intense. I've come out of it absolutely buzzing anyway, and when I went into the toilet afterwards there was like huge queues, there always is in the women's toilet, and everyone was like, oh my god, I need to brush up on my Irish. Someone was like, I'm gonna get my Duolingo Irish app out. Like everyone was talking about the Irish language in the toilets. So like,
oh God, that's
what
amazing.
are the chances, right? And I'm really happy because my Irish has really picked up again since we moved back to Ireland, and I've been listening to it a lot more, so like this has totally pumped me on the Irish as well. And like Northern Irish is very different from like Southern Ireland Irish. But I could pick up most of it, but I needed the subtitles. Anyway, Dave,
So,
how'd you feel?
Well, that was actually a question I wanted to ask you. So if the subtitles weren't there, would you have struggled, or would you have got every second word, or?
I'd have probably got like 70% of it, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just more the accent and how they pronounce certain words is
And there was a
different.
bit of slang as well, right?
Yeah, but as I got more into it, I was picking it up more, you know. I just needed to kind of tune my ears into that Irish. Because Ireland's a really small island, but our dialect like varies wildly across the four corners of Ireland.
Yeah.
But what do you think of the movie?
I loved it. Oh my God. I mean, I think the word, you nailed it. It's energy. And I think, like, I came out of that movie just feeling pumped. Like, I just felt the youth and the passion and the enthusiasm of those three guys just jumped out of the screen. Mm-hmm. And I felt like hip hop itself it's not my genre, and I feel old. I said it going in, and I feel it coming out. I feel like I just feel so old.
You're not that
like
old,
these
like.
guys. No, I'm not. I'm. But like watching a load of like people, mostly in their 20s, just come up with this. Like just stand up on stage with this energy and this passion and this, and like hip hop itself is just so fueled by I don't know, it's just injected with meaning and purpose and struggle. And I think there's a moment in the film, you know, which acknowledges that like hip hop, there's a bit of dialogue that acknowledges that hip hop was born out of the struggle of black people in America, and that it's doing the same now. They wanted to do the same for Irish language speakers in Northern Ireland, which is it's the most incredible sentence.
It's so
so niche and interesting that these two these two subcultures have kind of found each other, and it's this interesting and unexpected but also perfect union that makes which I realize that's a loaded word considering the context, but that is it's such a perfect formation of these two things that created this new thing. And that's what I think is also so interesting, and why this film is so charged with energy, because it's new and fresh and interesting. Like Irish language hip hop is not something I knew anything about, and watching these three guys perform it in the context of an environment that has decades of rich history and is politically charged, and that these people all grew up in and lived in. This is all their lived experiences. I don't know but I'm interested in finding out the full details of all of these guys' like
how much
stories,
is
backgrounds.
autobiographical,
Exactly, yeah.
how much is fiction. It was really hard to tell, but it felt like it was such a blend.
But it feels like it just feels so raw and real.
Yeah, it feels
like
authentic.
I'm sure whatever fiction has been and realities have been massaged here for the fiction is only for the benefit of just telling a good story. But the overall message of this film is just like it made me cry at the end, and
Yeah,
we'll
I
talk about
cried
it more in
too, I
spoiler
cried
street. I was
too.
crying. I thought I could not believe that these three actors, they're not actors. These
such
three
good actors.
rappers have
Yeah.
made their acting debut doing these. They are fantastic.
They're
They are
amazing.
so good.
But you know what they are though? They're triple threats. Like they're natural born entertainers.
Yeah.
Like I would say they can just put themselves to anything they want to. Like the older guy was such a good actor that we were like, oh, I don't think he's in the band. I think he's just an actor that they've got for the film.
Same.
Like the main two lads were just amazing, but we knew them. We know their faces. Like we knew that they were the guys from Kneecap, because the other guy wears a balaclava. We were like, maybe they've brought in a ringer here.
We were whispering to each other, being like, that guy. They've hired a good actor
Yeah.
to play the guy that wears the mask. But no,
so good.
that's just him.
But
He's
it makes-
in the band.
It makes sense.
DJ
Like
Provo.
so many musicians are also wonderful actors because they're just natural performers.
Yeah.
But like it felt like half the time you nearly felt like you're watching like a documentary performance, that they were that good.
Yeah, but also besides that, the direction, the movie itself is stylish, makes great use of like interactive subtitles. It does nice little touches and flares with like animations coming up on screen. I was really impressed by it.
Blown away.
It was fantastic. I recommend anybody watch it. I would highly recommend to all of our the majority of our listeners are outside of Ireland, and I would recommend that you brush up on the last
No pressure.
70 plus years, probably 100 years of political context in the north of Ireland. Or at the very least, just watch a 5-minute explainer video that someone will have made on YouTube, just to get the basics, because this movie, I think, doesn't go out of its way to explain any of that to you. It's just like, this is set now, and the context is they call themselves the ceasefire babies.
Yeah, I never heard
So this
that.
is post, which I think is an interesting term. It's the current generation who grew up in the 90s post the Good Friday Agreement and the ceasefire. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, just do yourself a favor, sort of look it up, which I think is it's worth doing anyway to educate yourself.
But they're on the Republican side of the fence.
Yes, very much so.
So that, it's really, like, the Irish audience was loving it. Packed theatre, everyone was laughing, because I don't know that we mentioned, but it's like proper funny as well.
Yes, yeah.
There was such a good energy in it, so I'd love to hear from our listeners, like, what the vibe was where you were watching it. They're hilarious. Like, I just saw them because I follow them on social ever since the South by Southwest thing, because I just think they're so cool. And I saw them saying that, like, all the money the Brits are paying by going to see them and buying their music, they're considering it reparations. It's just, what I love about it is it's very politically charged and it's very much grounded in republicanism, but it doesn't at any moment feel like a kind of dangerous, violent, like the film is showing that, like, other people were trying to say that they're dangerous and they're violent and they're encouraging drug use and all the rest of it, but it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like this is us kind of satirizing or exploring what it's like to grow up. They're, like, also, like, very much from, like, at least one of them we can see is from, like, a poor family. They don't really have jobs, like, they're drug dealing in the film, and, like, the characters, and it's kind of just satirizing all that stuff together. It's not actually like I don't feel like you'd come out of that film and be like, oh, I'm going to be really violent now, or oh, I'm going to go off and do a load of drugs. Like, do you know what I mean?
I think I agree with you, and I think that the movie, the characters in the movie and the movie itself equally satirizes the sort of overbearing sort of the police and the unionists and the sort of hypocrisy of sort of spin-offs of the IRA.
That was so funny. Yeah,
Right,
they're taking the piss out of the IRA spin-off.
They beautifully, and I won't spoil it, but they beautifully take the piss out of the sort of the ridiculousness of sort of modern spin-offs of the Irish Republican Army.
And it's just not possible that they're doing this many drugs in real life. Like, they couldn't be functioning as such a successful band.
Whether or not, so I agree with you in that I don't think the Kneecap themselves or the movie has an overtly political message. However, they are clearly coming from a very Republican perspective. But does it do anything? Is it pro-drug? I think they are clearly very pro-drugs.
Yeah.
You can't. I don't agree with you there.
No, I don't
any
think
criticism about them that they're promoting drug use. The movie promotes drug use.
I don't think it's promoting drug use. I think it's showing you that those characters use loads of drugs.
They do.
And
yeah,
there's a
sure.
difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, it's not like, oh, everyone needs to go out and take drugs now. It's just showing you the characters are taking drugs, and they're like two different things.
I know, but a lot of
it's not
people.
attractive the way they're wasted in it. They're not like. I mean, some of the drug scenes were so funny though. Like when we'll get into it in Spoiler Street actually. I think we should pause it now because I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
Wholehearted, full endorsement from us on this movie.
It's an incredibly honest, entertaining, and very just. It's one of those movies where you're like they perfectly captured a sort of a niche within a niche, a microcosm of again, I just can't believe an Irish language hip hop story in Belfast.
But it feels so universal.
On an international stage.
That's what makes it so good. Apparently it's been really tipped to be one of the 5 foreign language film nominees at the Oscars.
Well, that's fantastic. But
it feels like, the way, and our listeners will recall us talking 2 years ago about Colleen Kuhn, which was the Irish for the Quiet Girl. And that was a film that was nominated at the Oscars and kind of reignited this whole Irish language film. And now for this to come off the tails of Colleen Kuhn, I love, because they're obviously completely different. Dave, I know you didn't see Colleen Kuhn because I watched it without you and I had COVID, but they're completely different films. The only thing they have in common is that they have Irish language, and I love that because I feel like Irish language can be really stereotyped in a certain way into being more like on Colleen Kuhn, very rural Ireland. This is completely different, and I love that complete subversion of the Irish language. As I said, I did all my schooling in Irish. I did all my education through Irish. I've never seen it like this.
Well, I would like to pick up your point just in one moment after we turn onto Spoiler Street. But before we do that, you might hear a quick ad. Okay, so spoilers now for the movie Kneecap, and just to pick up the thread that you've highlighted there, Kathy. What I loved about this movie in relation to the Irish language is that they present this contrast with how the Irish language is being promoted or protected or advocated for, between the perspective of the Irish language teacher, who is one of the members of Kneecap, who is, very pointedly rolling his eyes at the Irish language textbook, which is all about bogs and peat and is completely unrelatable. It's clearly out of date, and that's how I felt.
Representing a dead culture for most of the country who are no longer farmers.
Exactly, and that's how I felt personally. I felt Irish was taught here in schools. I could never relate to it. It was never taught as a foreign language. It was taught with prose and with loftiness and importance, instead of just getting down and teaching me how to speak it. I always had issues with that.
They taught us more with not me obviously being in an Irish school, but you being in an English school. They taught it more French and German are the ones you'd actually speak, and Ireland is this historical thing that you need to have an understanding of.
Yeah, but there was an assumption that you had Irish and that we're going to teach you. Irish was taught the way English was taught, through literature and through prose and poetry.
Which is nice, but they just don't do a very good job.
Oh, sure, it's nice, but that wasn't constructive or useful to help me learn how to speak it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a rabbit hole. But the movie presents that perspective. It presents the sort of political advocacy perspective through the I didn't catch the teacher's girlfriend who is
She's trying to get
promoting
it
for the Irish
recognised,
language, on
an
the political
official act,
stage
yeah.
and get through the official act and have it recognised as a language, which was done in 2022. And then you've this other
in Northern Ireland.
perspective in Northern Ireland, sorry, yes. And then you've this other perspective through this sort of honest, raw youth movement, and just like presenting it through music and through lyrics which
is how
relate to the
everyone
youth,
learns. Like,
which
that's
is exactly
how anyone can learn through music. Like, it's the easiest way to learn a language. And like, it's so fun. Like, I just love that I left the cinema and people were talking about learning it from that. And
exactly. It's having real world implications already, right there.
The
It's
other thing that they
great.
captured that is true of anywhere in Ireland where it's spoken outside of a school setting is that intergenerational. Like, his dad passed it on to him.
Yes.
And his mom used to speak it at home, and it's very treasured to one of the characters. We only see one of the characters' home life. We don't see the others. But he's like really. And then he's speaking it to try and like bond with his dad, and he's almost doing it because he misses his dad, but then his dad won't speak Irish back to him, and his dad like withholding Irish is kind of like him withholding love. I thought that was really deep. Like, there was a lot of complexity to this film, and I think like I would actually say it's audacious, and they successfully pulled it off. How many themes they're covering in this film?
Oh my god, I can't believe
It's like republicanism, it's like Ireland is a language, then they talk about at the end about indigenous languages across the world, and how they're dying out. Like, there's such a big statement in this film about language.
But it's an incredibly well balanced script. I agree with you. And not only that, I thought the fact that you said it a second ago, they only focus on the home life of pretty much one character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought that was smart.
Yeah.
They have three characters to cover. They gave.
Oh, no, they covered actually, they did cover the. They did cover
They
the home
sort of
life
the
of the
home
DJ.
life of the teacher,
I meant
sure.
of the young guys. They didn't
Sure,
cover one of them
but that's
at all.
what I mean. They gave one of the young guys the plot with the sort of unionist girlfriend.
Which was just really funny.
Yeah, but that was kind of interesting in and of itself. This sort of odd Romeo and Juliet romance, and the other one was Michael Fassbender's son, and then the third guy had this sort of fascinating sort of balance between sort of being a professional teacher and trying to give all that up and letting all that go. So I thought it was considerably economical in how much of their subplots they just gave them all one focus, and then it all laddered up to this group forming. It's a great script, and
it's such a good script.
Yeah.
And I was looking up quickly. I was like, who's the director and writer? I've never heard of him. And he is obviously creative, but it's his feature debut, and he had like directed music videos for them before. So like, that in and of itself is like huge talent. I almost feel like only if debut for all of them can have this kind of energy. I feel like this is a once in a lifetime lightning in a bottle, can't be replicated because it's so foundational to their actual origin story. This is literally lightning in a bottle. I think a film like this won't come along very often.
Yeah.
Better win the fucking Oscar. I will be rioting if it doesn't win the Oscar.
Well, we don't know what it's up
and
against.
by rioting, I mean lightly complaining on my Instagram.
The way that millennials riot. Through hashtags.
I think we don't have much to get through actually on spoilers in terms of, I just love how it ended. I love how it began and ended on the Irish Language Act.
Well, I like that the dialogue at the sort of final narration really made me cry, and then watching his mother sing in the pub.
I was crying when she started singing, and then I looked over and I was like, I just knew you were going to be crying too. Anyway.
Well, I just found it really. I thought the words that were spoken or written were really beautiful. This whole idea of his dad kept saying, every Irish word spoken is a bullet.
Yeah.
And there's this sort of big moment of acceptance between him and his son down that alley in that. The
son is like, but I'm not doing violence like you are.
Well, exactly, and then it felt very cathartic, and it felt like that was over, but then to get the son's narration where he sort of rejects that, I found incredibly powerful. That words,
I love that.
Maybe words, I'm paraphrasing it, but it's like, maybe words don't have to be bullets. Maybe it's about them, not being bullets or not firing, and that words can you know, words can be words can be replacements to bullets.
Yeah, I love that.
I mean,
It's so
I found
beautiful.
all the language quite evocative
Yeah.
and moving,
And it's like
I
all
felt
about
that
language, the film, like both the Irish language and then language as like a different way to convey what you're feeling without being violent. And that's
Yeah.
why I love it as well, because so often when you do see things around republicanism or I guess any sort of anti-colonial, like oppressed group of people, violence does always feature, and it's really hard to stomach if you're a non-violent person or if you don't believe in violence. And then I love to see the mix of republicanism and the promotion of a lack of violence, which you don't usually see together on screen. I think it's really powerful.
And I love that they're saying one can exist and should exist without the other.
Yeah.
Because they're unashamedly like anti-colonial. They're pro-republican. These are very difficult positions to take with
And
the
they're
with the
really-
context of decades of violence.
and how vocal they've been around Palestine, like just kind of feeding into it
Exactly.
all.
Another sort of can be a very divisive and unpopular position to take.
Yeah.
But they are saying, no, we are unashamedly fighting for the minorities here,
Or
the
for
smaller
oppressed
voice
people.
or oppressed
Yeah.
people, and that we're doing it through words, not violence. And
Like for two people who've basically barely ever listened to Kneecap, albeit I do follow them on socials and have heard their songs, like we're obsessed now. That's it. I'm off to buy all their CDs.
the tracks are good
I'm buying
as
all
well.
their merch.
Again, I'm not a hip hop guy, but
They're
the
so
music's
good.
It's
But you say,
I felt it coursing through my veins.
When you hear really good hip hop, though, like there kind of is nothing like it. Like that kind of crowd, like the vibe of it, it's just so powerful.
Well, I think it's just born out of there's just something so raw about somebody speaking like words that are incredibly important to them super fast at you
yeah.
with
And then
conviction.
Australia. Now
Yeah.
I hope MDMA isn't like that important to them, but I found it fun. But the Chiarta one, the rights one, is just so clever. I think we're gonna have to go now because we're getting the train and we're nearly there. But yeah, wholehearted recommendation. Can't wait to hear what our listeners think of it. I hope you get to see it. I hope no one's listening kind of this far into the episode who hasn't seen it, so it's not spoiled for you. Albeit it's not hugely a film that we've spoiled.
There's nothing to spoil,
It's more that you just
really.
want to absorb it and enjoy it. And
Yeah.
the biggest takeaway for me as well is like, as important a film as it is, and like how much I love the message around the Irish language, I just had so much fun at it. And like
Yeah.
often you can see films and you're like, they're really important and I love that it's the Irish language and I really like the themes, but you don't necessarily come out being like, that was a great time. Whereas this one, you come out and you're like, that was a great time. That was a great night out at the cinema.
What was that other one we watched a few years ago with that Kenneth Branagh directed with Michael Fassbender, set in the North in the 70s, based around his childhood?
No, you mean
and
it was Jamie Dornan. It was
Oh,
Belfast.
sorry, you're right. It was
Yeah.
Jamie Dornan, and was it called Belfast?
I turned it off.
And you made us turn it off.
I felt like I was watching my
I
homework.
can't sit in the. You were like, I just can't be in this environment right now.
No, I was just like, I feel like I'm watching a film that was made for the Leaving Cert.
So I would say, I don't think we gave that film a good chance, and I wanted to go back and watch it, and I thought it was good. But
it's the exact
point is,
Irish
yeah,
stuff can be so boring.
that's the
sometimes.
contrast I think that
Yeah.
you're looking for in that. This film isn't shoving history down your throat.
Exactly, yeah.
It is. It's a very entertaining ride,
And it's set now. It's just so fresh.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, we're off to listen to Kneecap, and we'll play a bit of Chiarta there at the end, will we?
Oh, sure, why
Under
not?
30 seconds, so I'm sorry they won't get the streaming money that they talk about in the film, which I love. And I quickly checked, and RT actually had banned their CD originally.
Oh, they had?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
So, love
Okay.
it, yeah. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Oh, we should say, by the way, we've got a few tickets left for our live show in the Cork Opera House on Sunday, the 15th of September. So if you're in Cork or in Ireland and would love to, and can travel down to support us, we would love to see
we'd
you.
love to see. We cannot promise the energy of a Kneecap gig, though.
I can. I'm going to go
Are you gonna
right
crowd
out there.
surf?
No, I'm going to hip hop in Irish. Is that how you say it? Do you say hip hop? Is it a verb?
Yeah, you do.
I'm going to hip. I'm going to hop. I'm going to bop.
You mean
I'm
you're
going
going to
bip.
hip hop, hippity hop. I said
Hippity
hip hop,
boppity.
hippity hop.
I'll
Right,
do
okay.
bipping and bopping,
All
whatever
right,
you
okay,
want.
Bye.
All for the price of €10. Come see us. Part of the Cork Podcast Festival. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. So would love to see you there. We will be doing a hello and some interactive Q&A for the audience, and would love to meet you in person.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
C-E-R